I feel sorry to the fans because the fight is boring. The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us.
Terence Crawford in his brain is saying to himself, I can beat this dude. You know what I'm saying? If he actually goes through with it, he'll be 38 years of age next Sunday.
Right now in the sport, that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf.
Manny Pacquiao ridiculed Floyd Mayweather for challenging Terence Crawford, expressing pity for the fans because, in his view, this isn't the fight boxing truly needs. He stressed that such a matchup would be dull, nothing more than a staged exhibition, and reminded people that Floyd has been away from real competition for years, leaving the entire idea empty and without real value.
The fight is boring. Like that's not the fans are expecting to us. I mean, as a fighter, if I'm a fan, of course I want to see a good fight, like changing fight, not a fashion show.
Manny Pacquiao unleashed sharp criticism toward Floyd Mayweather, saying he can't help but feel pity for the former champion whose focus now seems driven only by money. In Pacquiao's eyes, Mayweather's interest in stepping back into the ring has nothing to do with legacy or the love of the sport, but purely with cashing in on exhibition shows. He argued that any potential fight with Terence Crawford would be fueled by greed rather than true competition, turning boxing into something hollow, stripped of its fighting spirit and reduced to a business spectacle, where boxers parade like models instead of battling like warriors.
Now, in the beginning of this conversation, you say, I don't like boastful people. How was it like fighting Mayweather then? Did he get on your nerves? Because I feel like he's a little bit more boastful than the people you might be wanting to hang out with.
Yeah, he's boastful. I think his God is the material things, money, everything like that. I'm pity with him because I want to share the word of God in him if he believe God.
Yeah, I've heard he's a generous man. I think he's done good things. I think, he kind of reminds me of like a lot of people are like this, by the way, including myself. I'm not just saying him. I'm including myself. The man who goes up to Jesus and says, what should I do to get into heaven? He says, sell all your belongings. And he walked away crying because he couldn't sell his belongings.
Exactly.
The news of Floyd Mayweather facing Mike Tyson in 2026 sent shockwaves through the boxing community. But experts were quick to note that this isn't a battle between two men at their peak. It's an entertainment spectacle built for profit. The fight is being promoted as a tune-up for Mayweather ahead of a possible showdown with Terence Crawford later the same year, with both events clearly centered on money and massive pay-per-view sales. Tyson's legendary aura, combined with Floyd's global brand, ensures that even without real sporting importance, the matchup will dominate headlines and capture worldwide attention.
As for Jake and Tyson, and some people like the likes of Carl Froch viewed that as an endorsement. Like, look, man, I'm just working. It's a big opportunity to be on Netflix. I didn't put the fight together. I'm not paying these guys. So, let's chill out. But all right, I'm not going to poo-poo this. I just don't know what CSI is. And the way it was presented made me think that there was like a secondary press release to come, that they'll be involved in like some sort of like virtual boxing thing. Like, it just didn't seem real. You know why it didn't seem real? I'll tell you why. There's no date attached to it. There's no venue attached to it. Forget rules, exhibition, not exhibition, weight. I mean, here's a guy who fought a heavyweight fighting forget all that. These things can get figured out, the fine details. The fact that it was announced, why announce something with no date or location attached to it? What's the point? Unless you're just trying to get people excited and trying to get them, trying to get some investors or something like that.
But maybe also testing the waters. If the response was overwhelmingly positive, maybe you go, okay, we move forward. If the response is muted or negative, maybe you go, okay, we're not going to actually do this. You lob it out there as a way to poll the public, and then make an adjustment.
So you don't think it happens?
I do not think it happens. I just don't think there will be enough interest. I know they have huge name value. There's zero, after the last performance by Mike Tyson against Jake Paul, I don't think there's going to be interest in seeing Mike Tyson do that again.
Terence Crawford has never hidden his admiration for Manny Pacquiao, praising him as a legend whose career is unmatched in boxing history. He highlighted how the Filipino superstar conquered titles across several weight classes, often stepping in against larger opponents and still emerging victorious against all odds. For Crawford, Pacquiao's accomplishments were not only historic, but nearly impossible to replicate, as he rose to greatness in a rare era, taking on challenges that most fighters would never even consider.
Man, a generational, talented fighter. Like, he's accomplished what no other fighter is ever going to accomplish.
Possibility of Terence Crawford stepping into the ring with David Benavidez has become a hot topic among fans, as Benavidez is regarded as one of the most dangerous fighters in boxing today. With his size, youth, and relentless aggression, many believe he would push Crawford in ways no other opponent has managed. Still, nothing has been officially confirmed, keeping the matchup in the realm of speculation. Yet the buzz reflects how much fans crave real, high-stakes battles, fights that carry genuine risk and meaning, far beyond the exhibition shows and celebrity-driven spectacles dominating the sport.
Shock the world, not me, but shock the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on and defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majimov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford, and that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Trainer Greg Hackett praised Terence Crawford's spectacular win over Canelo Alvarez, calling Canelo the shark of boxing, a force who ruled the sport with power and skill for years. For Hackett, Crawford's ability not only to step in with Canelo, but to completely dismantle him signaled a major shift at the very top of boxing. Defeating the man once viewed as untouchable now marks Crawford as the new predator in the waters, the fighter every contender must fear. Hackett's words also raised a powerful question. If Crawford could conquer the toughest opponent of his era, then who remains capable of truly testing him? Fans are left wondering what challenges lie ahead and whether Crawford will keep fighting long enough to face them, or walk away at the very peak of his dominance.
Because you got to remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, you know, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn, like, you know what I mean? Ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit gotta make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf.
Yeah.
But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what.
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend. But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Your line of suits get your money, man. Go away and get the easy money, man. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up,
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat. He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just whatever, doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore, when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he's like, man, this ain't even that. But your coach like, listen, you could get fucked up. I'm telling you, you don't want to listen. Then you go in there and fight that guy. Then you get fucked up. I seen it happen.
Analysts agree that Terence Crawford's dominant win over Canelo Alvarez was the defining moment of his career, erasing any lingering doubt about his place in boxing history. While his dismantling of Errol Spence had already earned him respect by showing complete control and silencing critics who questioned his resume, defeating Canelo carried even greater weight. For years, Canelo was seen as one of the sport's most powerful pound-for-pound champions, conquering multiple divisions and regularly taking on bigger, stronger opponents. Crawford not only accepted that challenge, but dismantled him in a way few thought possible, proving his brilliance wasn't confined to a single weight class or style of opponent. With adaptability, technical mastery, and unshakable mental toughness on full display, Crawford has now earned recognition as one of the rare fighters who has truly overcome every obstacle placed before him.
I think there was enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like, they're squabbing, like there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that. But he wasn't up 8-0, to be fair to Floyd. But Floyd was when he fought Canelo, so he could do that. But Bud instead steps on the gas. Bud is a finisher. You know, he closes really strong. He closes really strong in every exchange. That's one of his gifts. He's the best counterpuncher of his era, one of the greatest counterpunchers that lived. But the great fighters, James would tell us about this. James and Mike McCallum put on fights that exemplify what I'm talking about: initiating and punctuating, being first, being last. That's one of the things that makes Crawford who he is. So no, I think it was a good enough fight that it certainly didn't hurt boxing.
Yeah, I think sport of boxing delivered last night. I mean, Crawford didn't deliver.
Yeah,
Manny,
did.
The debate over Terence Crawford versus Floyd Mayweather has become one of the most fascinating discussions in modern boxing. Supporters of Mayweather point to his defensive brilliance, flawless timing, and unmatched ring IQ, arguing that in their primes, he would have controlled the fight with his ability to neutralize strengths, dictate the pace, and push elite opponents into uncomfortable territory, an approach that kept him undefeated throughout his career. Yet, many now argue that Crawford's adaptability, power, and calm under pressure could have made him Floyd's toughest test. Crawford's seamless stance switches, intelligent bursts of aggression, and finishing instinct offer a level of unpredictability that may have forced Mayweather into exchanges he usually avoided. In the end, the comparison highlights two different versions of greatness. Mayweather built his legacy on control, precision, and calculated dominance, while Crawford thrives on versatility, aggression, and razor-sharp adjustments. The outcome will remain forever hypothetical. But the debate itself reflects the respect and admiration both champions command across generations.
Matchup between Prime Mayweather and Prime Crawford, I've tended to lean slightly towards Mayweather. But after that performance there against Canelo, not just the fact he won, the manner in which he won, I've changed my mind. I would now lean towards Prime Crawford over Mayweather. And the reason I say this is because of the expert way in which Terence Crawford mixed offensive in the pocket boxing with defensive on the move boxing. Not running, save for maybe a round or two. No, just moving nicely. Because if there's one area of Floyd Mayweather's game that was underdeveloped, it's his front foot game. Whenever Mayweather was forced to walk an opponent down, what he did was actually very basic. He would hold his hands up and he would walk forward throwing straight right hands. Okay, they were accurate straight right hands. They were well-timed straight right hands. But there wasn't a whole heap of head movement. There wasn't a whole heap of creative or dynamic footwork, coming forward, walking somebody down. No, it was very, very basic stuff. And I don't think an approach that basic would have worked against, let's say, a Tommy Hearns, who was 6'1", 6'2", 78-inch reach, massive puncher, good hand speed. So I always thought that a prime Tommy Hearns would beat prime Mayweather, because I can't see Mayweather doing what Ray Leonard did, grabbing the bull by the horns and taking it to Tommy Hearns. Can't see him doing that, and if he did try and do it, he's gonna get clipped. Tommy Hearns hit so hard, that guard for Mayweather wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. And I never saw Mayweather on the front foot moving his head a lot. When he's in the middle of the ring or on the back foot, when he's being defensive, yeah, that's when he moves his head. The famous Philly shell defense, the shoulder roll and all that. But coming forward, no, it's a lot more basic. Go watch Mayweather's old fights, you'll see what I'm talking about. Whenever he's forced to come forward, it's basic stuff. And so, after watching Crawford's performance against Canelo, I got to thinking, you know what? Maybe Crawford employs similar tactics if he fights a prime Mayweather.
With achievement after achievement behind him, Terence Crawford now stands at a crossroads. Fans are eager to see him pursue fresh challenges against names like David Benavidez, Jermall Charlo, or other top contenders, yet the possibility of retirement looms just as strongly. At 37, Crawford has little left to prove and could step away while still at the peak of his legacy. This uncertainty leaves fans divided, some craving the thrill of more high-stakes battles, others fearing that boxing may soon lose one of its last active greats at a moment when the sport desperately needs marquee fights.
Callout said, deliver the job to Terence Crawford. The fight is fake, showbiz.
It's Saturday, deliver the job.
Y'all missed the most important part. It's when he said, don't retire.
No retirement.
This is what you guys are missing. Callout was trying to say, return the favor.
You must return it, yeah.
Bud interrupted him by saying the job ain't done, which prompted Callout to say, yeah, deliver the job. But that's not what he was on. He was on the first part, return the favor. But Turkey, in a second thought, he goes back to Bud and he says, and don't retire.
No retirement.
That's what Turkey meant when he was trying to say, return the favor. I did this for you, you got this big fight, but don't retire. Return the favor.
UFC legend Daniel Cormier is the latest to join in praising Terence Crawford after reacting to Ilia Topuria's unexpected call-out. Known for his deep knowledge of combat sports, Cormier acknowledged Topuria's rapid rise in MMA and his growing reputation as a future superstar. Still, despite the buzz around the young fighter, Cormier made it clear his confidence remains firmly with Crawford. He emphasized that Crawford has already proven why he deserves recognition as the best active fighter in the world today, with his record and dominance speaking louder than any speculation. What makes Cormier's remarks especially powerful is that they come from outside the boxing world, showing how Crawford's influence extends far beyond his own sport. His greatness is respected across the entire landscape of combat sports.
I bet that Ilia Topuria could knock Terence Crawford out, no chance. If I had to bet Ilia Topuria versus Terence Crawford, I'm betting Terence Crawford. I mean, he's the best boxer in the world, and this is what he does, and he's done his entire life. But we also knew that about Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. We knew, right, deep down, that Conor McGregor was not going to knock out Floyd Mayweather. But because of what we had seen him do inside of the octagon, we had seen him do to all those great fighters in MMA, when he walked into that ring, people thought
he had a chance. He didn't really have a chance. Conor never had a chance against Floyd Mayweather. And it would feel that way with Topuria, but you could at least tell that there's a chance because of how good he is in boxing and how he knocks people out inside the UFC. Initially, I thought Bud Crawford would just no-sell Ilia Topuria, right? When you're the king and everybody's calling your name, you can literally just ignore them and nobody will say anything about it. But Bud Crawford isn't one to ignore stuff.
That wraps up today's video. Thanks for watching, and make sure to stay tuned for more. Until next time.